Hey, welcome out to the Explore and More Show. My name's Ken Cohn. I'm here with Mr. Ted Blank of Ted Blank Luxury Travel and Adventures. Thanks for joining me, sir. I appreciate it.
Good to be here again.
I know we've got a multi-part series that we're going to kick off today, which I'm really excited about. This is going to be our river cruise series. We wrapped up a Alaska series last couple weeks, and this river cruise piece is just something that we had the pleasure of going on.
You've had the pleasure of going on a river cruise. And,
yeah.
You know, it is really, I think, such a popular vacation for people today. And if I'm ever doing an in-person travel presentation, and if I'm ever talking about river cruising, I'll always ask people, hey, show of hands, who has a friend who's been on a river cruise?
Right.
And every single hand in the room will go up, because river cruising has really become, I think, the most popular way to discover Europe in particular.
Yeah.
And at the end of the series, we'll talk about a few other places you can go on river cruising. But I think we want to kind of help people answer the question, you know, never been on a river cruise before? Is a European river cruise right for me?
Yeah, I'll tell you, I just have to flash back to the Rhine where we went. And the takeaway that I had that I just couldn't believe was you get on board, they put your luggage in your room for you, you unpack it one time, and then it's in your stateroom, and you show up at Newports I felt like I was getting away with something. I'm like,
it kind of does.
Awesome.
Doesn't it? Well, I think you've really nailed kind of the nub of why river cruising is so popular.
Yeah.
And it's because of that convenience factor. You know, you board your little floating boutique hotel, and for 7 days or 14 days, you get to float between cities.
Right.
You don't have to pack and unpack. And by the way, Ken, there are actually butlers on some river cruise ships that will actually unpack your luggage.
Come on.
So we can even take that off your list if you'd like to. But, you know, I think if you think about the alternative ways of exploring Europe, you know, schlepping your own bags onto a train, or even traveling on a motor coach tour, you're going to be in motion a lot. And that's, you know, that's a little bit like being a road warrior. And it's a little bit like living out of your suitcase. And that gets old after a while. And so I think river cruising has really solved that problem. You know, one of the great things about Europe is that just like everywhere else, civilization kind of sprung up along the rivers. And so those big, important cities in Europe, Vienna and Paris and Cologne, they're located right on the river. Strasbourg, France. But they're also charming little towns and sort of unexplored hidden gems along the way. And so you get that nice blend of what I call key attractions. And you also get to experience some little smaller, charming villages. Lots of wine, great food. It's just kind of the quintessential European experience. And so river cruises have become tremendously popular in the last 10 to 15 years. And I can completely understand why. And I think you hit the reason, the first reason on the head, which is that convenience factor.
Yeah, we did one of our first kind of European vacations. Shannon and I went over to Ireland and had a motor coach with her. Her parents came with us, and it was fun. But you're right, that whole road warrior thing and unpack and pack, and it was just, you know, it's so funny because as the older I get, like vacations are, you know, you're moving and grooving.
There's a lot of physical effort that's involved, and you just think about packing and unpacking.
Yes.
What a pain in the butt
it sounds.
That is, and it's kind of taken care of for you on that. And like I said, you know, we've got butlers, so if you don't even want to unpack and pack for yourself, we've got somebody who'll take care of that for you too.
Next river cruise, I'm going to have to figure it. Shout out Shannon. We need to figure out a butler next time.
Yeah, no, I always joke that we'll talk about butlers later.
Yeah, I love it. Well, talk to us about the different rivers and areas within Europe that we could, you know, explore via a river cruise. Tell me more about that.
Yeah, so the most popular rivers in Europe for river cruising are the Rhine.
Okay.
Which basically runs from Amsterdam to Basel in Switzerland. It runs through Germany. It's also the border between Germany and France.
Oh, fun.
In some spots. And then the Danube River, which kind of starts on the German-Austrian border. And it actually makes its way all the way to the Black Sea in Bulgaria. But the most commonly cruised piece of it is Germany, Austria, and Hungary. So basically between a city near Munich, near Prague, and Budapest in Hungary with a stop in Vienna. So those are the two most popular river cruises. Probably about 80% of first-time river cruises choose either the Danube or the Rhine.
Okay.
But then there are some rivers in France. The Seine River that runs from Paris to the coast in Normandy. The Rhone River that starts a little bit north of Lyon and makes its way to the Mediterranean coast. The rivers that surround the city of Bordeaux, kind of in the core French wine country.
Oh, fun.
The Douro River in Portugal is become a very popular river cruise destination. The Po River in northern Italy near Venice is also home to one river cruise.
Okay.
And then something that's really kind of I guess it hasn't surprised me, but something I've really observed in the last couple of years is that, most river cruises are 7 nights long. And you can always add a little extension before or after where you'll do some sightseeing from a motor coach and a hotel to see a little bit more of the country than you could see by a river cruise.
Okay.
But there's also a 14-day river cruise that starts in Amsterdam, makes its way down the Rhine, cuts across Germany, and then it does the whole Danube. And so you end up with a 14-day cruise. And that has become increasingly popular over the years. And I think the main reason for that is because we're all just kind of tired of those intercontinental flights.
Amen. Yeah.
The airlines never quite seem to get it right. Yeah. And so no complaints about the cruise, but a lot of problems, in recent years with flights. And so people, I think, just want to avoid those flights. And so taking a 14-day cruise has become a real popular, even introduction to river cruising for people.
Really?
Yeah, you'd think maybe it would be people who are going on their second or third cruise, but no, a lot of first-time river cruisers want to do that 14-day, do the whole thing at once. But little newsflash, then they'll come back and they'll do one of the other rivers a little bit later as well.
I always feel like if you're heading over to Europe, it's got to be at least 10 days, if not 14 plus, right? Yeah. Because just like you say, you go over the flight, those flights are what they are, right?
Yeah, they're long.
Gosh, you're there. Let's go, right?
Let's go. And, I think, the average river cruiser is probably about 60 years old.
Yeah.
And so, retired or maybe on the edge of being retired. Mm-hmm. And so they have a little more time to do that than they did when they were younger. And river cruising just lends itself well to that kind of civilized pace of travel. When you were young, maybe you'd get up at 3 a.m. to schlep your bag to the train station to hop somewhere else. But when you're older, you've been there, done that.
Yeah.
Just enjoy the experience and not get so worn out
that
when you come home, you need a vacation from the
vacation.
Yeah.
I remember going over to Spain to see my brother years ago, and it was hostels and trains and schlepping the backpack all over Europe. And back when you're 20 something, it's great,
fine.
right? Yeah. It's great. But nowadays,
you throw your back out.
There's no way. There's no way.
No, and it's no fun. It's no fun, right? I mean, there's a reason that type of a vacation is cheap.
Yeah.
Because, anybody who's got money doesn't want to do that.
Right.
And so river cruising has really come on the scene. It's kind of, I think, displaced guided sightseeing a little bit as kind of the number one choice of people going to Europe and wanting to get, a diversity of experiences from those big marquee ports that have interesting history and culture to some of the smaller, little more, intimate towns that you can explore, towns and villages, and get a different flavor for the country you're visiting.
Yeah, I was blown away that we went on the Basel to Amsterdam Rhine River
cruise. And
just blown away by just all you could see, not only when you're in port, but when you're traveling.
Yeah.
Like, it was really amazing. Like, there was a day where we kind of woke up a little late, had breakfast, came back to our room, and looked out the window and watched the world go by a little bit. And it was like, this is beautiful.
Yeah, there are some really, really scenic stretches of river all over Europe. The Rhine Gorge that you had a chance to go through. Incredible.
Crazy.
Breathtaking. Nothing like that anywhere else in the world. The Danube, little newsflash, the Danube isn't very blue, but it's got some really beautiful attractions and sights along the way, as well as those big cities. So, you get a really comprehensive experience in Europe on that river cruise.
Yeah, I like that. And then from a package perspective, talk a little bit more about what's included with that package. There's some excursions, or how does that all work with river cruises?
Yeah, that's a great question. And river cruising is different than most ocean cruises in that river cruising is pretty inclusive.
Okay.
So every European river cruise, from the, kind of the entry level up to the top, will include shore excursions.
Oh, nice.
It's kind of the entry level, the very value priced cruises. They're going to include one excursion per port.
Okay.
Typically that'll be a full motor coach, 40 people with a guide walking around with a paddle and
the classic. Yep. Here's our guide. Here's our little earpieces. Yep.
And as you start to move up, you'll have more choices that are included in the price, and smaller groups, and oftentimes privileged access to sites.
Really? Mm-hmm. Wow, that's crazy. I didn't know that you could also get some privileged access around to different sites. That's
so it's really cool. It's actually a tremendous differentiation between the different river cruise brands that are out there. And there are about a dozen different river cruise companies. Some are very value priced, very much engineered to deliver a value proposition, very high value proposition.
Yeah.
Others are going to include more amenities and more choices.
Okay.
And so, I think one of the biggest mistakes somebody can make when they're thinking about taking a river cruise is just to book it on their own.
Yeah.
Because they're going to see, what they're going to see, and they aren't going to know the options that are available, and they're going to have a chance to compare, is this really the best one for me? And maybe it is, maybe it isn't.
And how many, from a cruise line perspective, when we talk about those main rivers in Europe, is there a handful of cruise lines that you can help work through with a client? Or
yeah, we have a couple that we have found really deliver kind of the best overall experience for our clients.
Yeah.
And we kind of have one at each kind of price point, kind of that good, that better, and that best. And so we'll walk through those with our clients and help them understand what are the differences.
I love that.
If I'm paying this much, what am I getting? If I'm paying this much, what am I getting in addition to that? And then really the decision, is yours in terms of what's the level of, value and investment that I'm comfortable with. There's no bad. Yeah. There are no bad river cruises out there. But, if you're expecting this and you end up with this, that can be a big disappointment for people.
Right. I think another thing that is worth mentioning, there's no upcharge to work with your team. That's correct. It's going to be the same price points, whether you book it independently on your own, online, where you're kind of going blind, or come and get the full, here's everything.
We really do provide the full treatment. And, the biggest thing is you've kind of outsourced your worrying to us.
Yeah.
Let us take on the stress for you. We know what we're doing. My entire team, we've all taken river cruises before. That's a job requirement. Got to go to Alaska. Got to take a river.
That's a tough requirement.
I know, tough requirement. But
I don't know how people put up with that.
I know.
That's
it's terrible.
ridiculous.
I know. It's a cause of high staff turnover. But it is actually really important because I think you get a different appreciation for something when you can experience it for yourself versus just kind of reading about it and hearing about it. And so that is something that it is really important that we've all been there, done that, and can talk to you with some personal experience. And, it's always important to remember that my personal preferences aren't necessarily your preferences.
Yeah.
And that's really what we do is we want to get to know our clients and understand those preferences so we can help match them with the right river cruise.
I think that's a great point. That's one of the things that I just really enjoy talking to you is you'll ask great questions to me and that fishes out hey, here's some things that I kind of want to be a little bit more active. I'm not looking to kind of just sit on the ship all day. And you're like, oh, well, here's a couple different things that you could think about. That's an expert right there. And I really appreciate that.
Thank you.
That's awesome stuff. How do we get, I know we'll have a link below, but how do we get in touch with you and your team?
Yeah. So the best way to get started is to visit our website, tedblanktravel.com. You can request an appointment online and we'll set some time to chat with you in person if you're local or by phone or by Zoom. And we'll talk through, get to know you, talk through the different options and help you select the right river cruise for you.
Love it. Well, thanks for joining us on part 1 of River Cruises. This is the Explore and More show. I'm Ken Conan. That's Mr. Ted Blank. We will be back for part 2 coming up real soon. Thanks again for tuning in.